Welcome to the Beyond Jiu Jitsu Podcast, episode number 28.
28, what's up, bro?
Hey, Adam, how's it going, man?
Good. I just realized that I missed on episode 24 the opportunity to...
On 27, last one?
No, 24.
Oh.
Well, last one, numerically, last one was 27, yeah. But I missed the chance on episode 24 to just tell the story, not the story, but just to explain for what the number 24 represents in Brazil, you know, because being a Jiu Jitsu podcast, you know, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu.
So we're going to talk about number 28? Go for it.
Well, no, I'm going to talk about...
That was a mad shutdown. Sorry, go on.
So
what does it mean?
Going to talk about the number 24 because in Brazil, right, the number 24 has its own meaning, and obviously any Brazilian listeners or anyone who speaks Portuguese would already know what I'm about to say.
I have no idea.
So the number 24 is, do you remember the game show here? What's it called? I think Deal or No Deal. And there was a bunch of briefcases with different numbers.
Yep.
So
I used to watch that every day.
Yeah. So they had a game like that, right? But the different numbers, they had different animals in the briefcases, right? And the number 24, the animal in the briefcase was a deer, I think a baby deer, specifically like Bambi, right? And the word for that deer, for that animal, is viado, right? But viado is also a word for if you want to call someone gay, right? Like in a derogatory sense of the word. Like, so if you call someone a viado, that you're saying they're gay, right? So then the connection became made that to say like the number 24 was gay, because in the 24 briefcase was the animal viado.
From this game show. Oh, no way.
Yeah. So then like it's super common in Brazil, like if you're 24 years old and someone asks like how old you are, you'll say like, oh, I'm 23 plus one. You know, like you won't say you're 24 because it's gay.
Oh.
I'm being serious. Like,
yeah, right. So if you say I'm 24, you're saying I'm gay in a derogatory way because it's associated with the game show that in the briefcase there was a deer and the
word for the deer is viado.
Viado, which also is a derogatory term for gay. That is a logical leap and a half.
Yeah. So it's super. Yeah, it's super. Like, I mean, it's a super common like joke in Brazil. Like you could say to someone, "Man, I bet your favorite number's 24" or something like that. You know.
Yeah, that makes
sense. I can't believe I didn't bring it up because it's like, I mean, it's so common. Like it is such common.
Right, that's bizarre. That's like so interesting. And unless you like knew a Brazilian, you wouldn't understand that logical, you know.
You'd have no idea.
You would need someone to explain, like you just did, the steps. Like this is how it, you know, translates. It's like, you know, in the UK, we're just talking off air about how in the UK they have different expressions because one thing rhymes with another, and like the logical leaps are just so bizarre. You have to have someone walk you through it. And I can't even think of an example, but yeah.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, I mean, it would make no sense unless someone's explained it to you. Mm-hmm. I mean, someone might explain it to you just in it's just a slang for gay, and you might go, okay. But I mean, it's like a lot of expressions, right? You don't necessarily always know, like where it came from.
Yeah, and that's important to understand. Like to understand the origin of these phrases, you understand the phrases themselves. I hate it when like someone like explains something to you with, "Oh, that's just the way it is," or whatever. Or they don't they don't explain the why. Like as humans, we're very curious, and understanding the why enables you to understand the concept a lot easier, in my opinion. Yeah. But yeah, that's interesting. Well, there you go. I learned something new. So, what is the word for 24?
Like
the how do you say 24 in Portuguese?
24 is the number 24. Yeah, nothing near viado.
Okay.
But anyway, 24 is a air quote gay number in Brazil, you know.
Well, there you go.
I can't believe it didn't. Yeah, it's just I haven't had my Brazilian brain switched on for so long. Like it's become such an automatic thing associated with the number 24.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
All right. So with this episode where...
That reminds me, I bought you a shirt with a number on it.
Oh, okay.
If you're... Yeah, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about what the number is.
Don't worry about what the number
just wear
is. Just wear it. All right?
When you go to Brazil, just wear the number. That's interesting. So this episode, as you can tell from the title, we're talking all about nutrition for the BJJ. This is a topic I've covered in the past, but I think in this forum, Adam and I can cover it a little bit more casual, a little bit more, as Adam put it just before we started recording, digestible.
Was it? I mean, you're a dad when you don't even try and make a dad joke, and you're just like puns left, right, and center.
Yeah,
it's not even pew pew. It's like pun.
Oh dear, the finger guns for those that are listening to this and not on the video version. That was finger guns just now. So yeah, we're talking about nutrition for BJJ, and I do have ISSN recognized sports nutrition specialist certification. So for those that don't know, ISSN International Society of Sports Nutrition. So we're going to delve into it. I believe we do have a couple of questions that people have submitted for our Ask a Black Belt segment, but weren't sure if they were able to submit nutrition questions. But yeah, you can. Just for clarification on a bit of housekeeping, if you want to submit a question to the show for nutrition purposes, you can submit that in our Ask a Black Belt, and obviously I will answer it. Adam won't answer it. So it's Ask a White Belt.
Just
doesn't have the same ring to it, right?
Why does Kieren look so funny?
Yeah.
Whatever question.
Why is he wearing a hat all the time? Yeah. When's he going to get a haircut?
Yeah.
That sort of stuff.
October 11th, I'm guessing. If you turn up to the gym, so this will be, the gym will already be open when people are listening to this, but about to come out of, we're recording at the moment this is being recorded, we are 5 days away from coming out of lockdown.
Yeah.
If you turn up to the gym in 5 days' time without a haircut, bro, people
pressure's on. I mean, apparently
there's going to be some cackling.
All the barbers and everything are just booked out.
Are they? I wouldn't be surprised.
So I go to we're getting so off topic. We need to get to the nutrition soon, but I go to a walk-in barber, so I think they're going to be absolutely stacked.
They probably will, bro. Yeah,
so
for sure.
on Monday, that's my mission, is to try and get a haircut. My hair is so embarrassing.
One of my students, Sagi, who
every
week he comes into the Zoom classes, the Zoom workouts we've been doing during lockdown, and every week it's just funny to see the progression of his hair.
Yeah,
and now it's gotten to the point. I saw him the other day too, and I think he said I kind of like it now.
Yeah, we have matching haircuts. Okay, so nutrition for jiu-jitsu. Now, just on the outset, I was going to leave this to the end, but I'd be remiss not to mention at the start for those that don't listen to the full episode. For resources for nutrition, I have spoken about this at length. The best resource that I have created for everything nutrition for jiu-jitsu, and this gets very specific, a bit scientific, and gives you practical steps on how to calculate your macros, your calories, etc., is a YouTube video I made called The Ultimate Nutrition Guide. If you just type in Ultimate Nutrition Guide into YouTube, it'll be the first thing that pops up. And yeah, it's like a 15-minute long video, gives you everything you need. The next resource that I recommend.
Don't send them away already, bro.
No. But we're gonna talk about some practical takeaways.
Yeah, if you want the in-depth, more sort of scientific approach,
exactly.
And like you said, how to count your calories and macros and all that sort of stuff.
That is very, very detailed. And I also did a podcast with the Jungle Brothers podcast, episode 110. So check out Jungle Brothers podcast 110. I spoke about basically the same concepts, but for about 45 minutes. But today we're going to talk about some practical takeaways, very digestible form conversation on jiu-jitsu nutrition. So let's get into it.
Yeah. So I'll take the ball then with some questions.
Sure.
So if we go in first, if we look at diets for sports or diets for jiu-jitsu, obviously more specifically, when you're looking at your diet to help you better perform in jiu-jitsu, what do you think is, of course, everyone's different, so we're not going to go too deep into, creating whole nutrition plans for everyone listening. So if we're just kind of having to put everything in a nutshell, what do you think is one of the most important things you need to be looking at when you're looking at performance, I guess, in any sport, but I mean, jiu-jitsu is such a high intensity sport. You burn a huge amount of calories. If you're looking at your diet, maybe you're not even wanting to go see a nutritionist, but you just want to take a look at your diet and improve your diet for performance. What do you think are some of the key points that you need to be looking at?
Definitely for performance, there's two things that I want to point out from the outset, and that's your carbohydrate intake. People are generally under-eating, well, it depends on the individual, but a lot of people are under-eating calories in jiu-jitsu. That's one of the most common mistakes I see, is not eating enough. And when we say not eating enough, it's generally not eating enough carbohydrate.
And carbs get a bad rap, right?
Carbs do get a bad rap. It's the movements like keto movement and, even the carnivore, paleo, they're very light on carbs. And there's a good reason for that. It's because if you are overeating in general, removing or cutting down carbohydrates and cutting out sugars is a very easy way, well, not easy, but a very effective way to lose weight.
Sorry to interrupt, but just to quickly clarify one little point. I know we said we're going to keep it more casual and not go down the scientific term, but just to clarify with carbohydrates, and this is for me as well because I always forget, but most people when they think of carbohydrates, they just think, bread, pasta, rice and whatever. But correct me if I'm wrong, but like, isn't it when you eat certain foods like sugars or something, they're converted to carbohydrates or something?
Yeah, okay, so let's just clarify. That's a good place to start. What is a carb? Carbs is effectively sugar, okay? So we're talking about complex forms of sugar. Now, sugar comes in different forms. So you have simple sugars, which are basically either single or disaccharides, right? We're talking about saccharides. So you can have monosaccharides, which when you ingest a monosaccharide, it's in its singular form, right?
You already got so scientific.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, you know of complex carbs, right?
Well, even then, like I know simple carbs and complex carbs, but I actually
why
don't
are they called complex carbs?
I actually don't even know what they are.
That's a great question. So we're talking about chains. Okay, if you think of molecules, sugars as molecules, right?
Yeah.
So
like you saw it in chemistry class or whatever.
Exactly. 100%. So different monosaccharides and different disaccharides are made of different sugar molecules. So they're not all the same. We're not talking sugar and it's just the one thing, right?
Yeah, of course.
So like, for example, lactose is a disaccharide. It's made up of two different sugar molecules, right?
Yeah.
And there's so many different monosaccharides, which are singular sugar molecules.
But is there like without having to, because I mean, there's plenty of listeners who are smarter than me, but I'm just going to take a leap of faith and think there's probably some listeners who aren't as bright as me. So if I'm already,
I doubt it.
I'm the benchmark and I'm super low. So if I can follow along, then we can guarantee everyone else is following along.
I agree.
So, is there a generic rule of thumb when we're talking about carbohydrates? Because the initial question was helping with performance. You said people are usually under eating carbohydrates, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, or eating the wrong type, yep.
Yeah, so one of the sort of blanket statements you will hear, not blanket statements, but one of the common phrases you'll hear nutritionists say or you'll read or whatever is talking about like either avoiding or eating more of or less of, and they say like complex carbohydrates and simple carbohydrates. And then you often go, well, how do I know if a sweet potato is a complex carbohydrate or a simple carbohydrate? Like, is there a generic rule of thumb for someone who doesn't want to have to go and read a textbook to know which is which?
Well, unless you have a good understanding of what a complex carbohydrate and what a simple carbohydrate is, not really. So if you think about like food structure, right? So we're looking at something like a sweet potato. It's a vegetable. Vegetables are complex carbohydrates because the molecular structure of the sugar is complex. It takes your body longer. Is that a good thing? I'll get there.
Okay.
So just on to finish off the like monosaccharides and disaccharides and everything like that, and the difference between that and starches. You've heard of the term starches. They're complex carbohydrates because it's not two molecules put together.
It's multiple.
Right. And the reason this is so important.
Right?
Exactly. And the reason this is important is because when your body digests foods, it breaks the bonds between the molecules to digest it, absorb the nutrients from the food, use it as energy, absorb it into your blood, right?
So when it's complex, it's a bigger chain, it takes longer.
Exactly. And that is why complex carbohydrates drip feed you energy. And that is why nutritionists and other people recommend complex carbohydrates for a slow drip of energy throughout the day because your body is continually digesting it and it's slowly transiting between your stomach, your guts actually, your intestines and your blood, right? Okay, so your body is slowly drawing the nutrients out. Whereas simple carbohydrates, they don't need to go through that complex process. They're absorbed very quickly, right? Because it only needs to break one bond. which to understand this better, people.
So would that then depend like, I'm assuming it's not, like even within complex carbohydrates, some chains are going to be longer than others, right?
Yeah.
So.
And some you can't, fiber, for example, right?
Sorry, I'm just, so many questions are going through my head. So what would be, to give me a ballpark figure, when you think about a complex carbohydrate, like how long are we talking to digest it? I know it's going to depend, but are we talking 2 hours or are we talking 2 days? Like what's
not days. Like, so we're talking like 3 hours or so.
And
it depends on the body. It depends on your gastric emptying. It depends on how much of the food you've ingested. Because if you sat down and ate 5 kilos of sweet potato, you're probably not going to digest most of it. You're probably just going to shit it out. It's going to be bad for you, right? Yeah. So it completely depends on the individual, and it depends on that individual's microbiome and their gut health as well. And if you've taken like a digestive enzyme, that's a bit too complex.
Yeah. Would I be correct in saying, like, if I was to stop listening to this episode now, so far, if I was just to go like, okay, and stop listening, what I think I've learned is that if I need sustained energy, eat complex carbohydrates. If I quickly need energy, eat simple carbohydrates.
Yeah, and that's probably something that you came into this knowing already.
No, I did not.
Okay, well, never mind then.
Well, I said, I'd heard the terms, but I really, like, it was something that I'd probably learnt previously in the past.
It's just it's reminding you.
Yeah, it's not like something that I constantly
refresh.
Yeah. And I mean, we'll talk a little bit about at some stage in the episode what I do to prepare for a competition. And I think when we spoke about the preparing to compete episode, it was one of the first episodes, but also I'd like to just say, this is what I do. What do you think from a nutrition point of view?
Absolutely. We can do that. But just to finish off on this carb, because we've sort of spent like 7 minutes explaining nothing. So, okay, so we understand the simple carbs and complex carbs. This is pretty much all we've really gotten through, right? So
in 17 minutes, yep.
Yeah, the original question was like, okay, so, we're under eating carbs, all right? What carbs do we need? I'm not saying that you should eat like fucking chocolate. If you eat chocolate, it's sugar and fat, right? That's carbs. That's a lot of carbs, a lot of fat. I'm not saying that you should have that, and that's not going to fuel you for very long. It's actually going to make you crash. It's not good for you, right? Now, should you avoid simple carbs is a very common question. Like, basically, someone might take away from this so far that, hey, he's saying avoid simple carbs. I should only eat complex carbs. You're going to jump on Google fucking complex carbs and only eat off that list. That's a bad idea. The reason is sometimes we need fast sugars. Sometimes we need sugar quickly. For example, if I was training Jiu Jitsu and maybe I had a very tough session, the 5:30 session in the afternoon, I had a really, really tough class and I'm about to back that up with another session. It would be intelligent of me to like take some form of fast-acting carbohydrate. That's pretty much the concept behind Powerade and Gatorade. Is they're very simple sugars, and you ingest those during athletic performance, and that's what gives you energy.
Is there to some degree in this context, are carbs and sugars synonymous?
Yes.
Okay.
Sugars are carbohydrates.
Because I find that, like, I still actually find that confusing to get my head around because like I said, when the average person, when they think about carbs, they think about bread, pasta, rice. When people think about sugar, they think, like candies, chocolate, and all that crap. Yeah. Right? So
sugars are saccharides, right? They're known as saccharides. And as I was trying to get to, but we said we weren't going to go super sciencey, but this would be really quick,
could I sit here and say like, oh man, I ate too many carbs today when I had like 7 Mars bars?
Yeah, technically, I suppose. Right. Yeah. This is a lot. You would more just say that's a lot of sugar, right? So table sugar, like what we know as table sugar, is made up of 2 different sugar molecules. So that's known as a disaccharide, right? Because it's 2 sugar molecules. Now we have monosaccharides, which are 1. Disaccharides are 2, made up of monosaccharides. And then you have more complex structures like starches, and even vegetables are carbohydrates, right? Yeah. But it's fiber, like either insoluble or soluble fiber. Yeah. Insoluble means your body doesn't have the right digestive enzymes to break it down, so you can't break down and absorb that type of fiber, which is why, if it firms up your poo, basically, because you can't digest it. Whereas soluble fiber, you can, because your body possesses the digestive enzymes to break up that carbohydrate structure, those sugar molecules, break them up, right? So I've sort of just drawn out a diagram here.
Diagram.
So diagram, one circle, monosaccharide. Yep. Two circles joined together with a little line,
yep.
disaccharide. Lots of circles joined together with lots of lines is a complex carbohydrate, and either a starch or a fiber, something along those lines, right?
So then
these are all sugars.
Cool.
Mars bar, these two.
One
milk.
Mars bar, two Mars bars.
So the disaccharide, we're talking about table sugar. So shit you find in like Mars bars and shit like that, disaccharides. Simple carbohydrate, simple because it only has one bond between the molecules. Very easy to digest. Complex carbs, complex in structure, so it takes longer to digest. That is the difference between carbs.
Just the amount of people listening right now that are like, Adam, you're such a freaking moron, bro.
Yeah, probably, man. Probably.
So then how you know, the initial point was that people are probably under eating
carbohydrates.
Yeah. We could do a whole episode just talking about this one point of eating more carbohydrates for performance and whatnot. So like, just to quickly move on to the next topic or question, would you know, what would your advice be? Like, would you just say, look, the chances are you're not eating enough carbohydrates, eat more?
No, I'm not going to say that. No, the reason, like, I want to be very careful. Like, I can just only point out things I've observed, basically being in, you know, the nutrition world, things I've observed other jiu-jitsu practitioners doing like nutrition assessments on jiu-jitsu people. And basically one thing I find is they undereat calories and they undereat the right type of calories. Now,
is that due to the amount of calories burnt in jiu-jitsu?
It is. But also there's a problem where people are eating the wrong type of calories and they're putting on weight and not understanding why. There's so many variables, right? But the general rule of thumb, I find most people that are like seriously training hard, like I'm talking, they're putting in the hours in the gym, they're fucking training hard. Those people, if they're not looking at their nutrition, they're generally under-eating calories. And most of those calories that are under-eaten are coming from carbohydrate. So the difference between your everyday person's diet and an athlete's diet is the percentage of carbohydrate. So generally speaking, you know, you can get away with having equal amount of protein, carbs, and fats for the vast majority of people. And that would be a fine, stable diet, obviously depending on what food you're eating. But for an athlete, you need a high percentage of carbohydrates. We're talking around that 60%. And in some cases, for endurance athletes, they recommend even more, like 80% and up of their 80% of their calories should be coming from carbohydrate. Because if you're burning, say like 5,000 calories a day, that's a shitload of calories to be eating. The vast majority of that needs to come from carbohydrates. The reason is...
It's funny though, because... I mean, you've just kind of made me think to another sort of point that I wanted to make, which was, I guess, the question of, similar to when we talked about, you know, strength and conditioning and whatever, that, what was the expression? The best workout is the one that you do 100%. Sort of thing. I guess, you know, okay, if you're looking at like the elite level athletes or whatever, it's like you want to be, you know, doing the best of the best, but to some degree, surely there is what works best for you. And the reason I'm saying this is because I recently-ish watched 2 different YouTube videos, and both of them were ultra marathon runners, quite a niche sport, talking about like what they eat before a race. And they were just so different, right? Like, you know, one dude ate pretty much exclusively fats, like he pretty much only ate avocados was what he said he would eat. Right. And the other dude was more eating, you know, like complex carbohydrates. Right. And, you know, it's like, okay, well, you know, is they just doing what works best for them? Have they got 2 different nutritionists who have, you know, surely they've, you know, these are professional ultra marathon runners who have probably experimented with various different pre-race foods, and this guy's decided that avocados are good for him. And this other, you know, because one guy said, oh, if I eat this, I find I'm shitting however often. So surely to some degree, it's also what works best for you, right?
There is and there isn't. So I would say that the avocado guy isn't necessarily hindering his performance, but he's not bettering it by eating fats. Now, I have a bit of a story to back up what I'm saying. There was about 10 years ago in the keto world, there was this understanding
For
that
those who don't know,
keto is essentially being in a state of ketosis, meaning you're deriving most of your energy from fats, right?
So a super reduced or non-existent carbohydrate.
Yeah, so
diet.
there's different definitions, okay? So in the science literature, I believe the keto is defined as less than 25 grams of total, digestible carbohydrate per day. Other circles define it as less than 50 grams of total and 25 grams of digestible, including fiber, right? So I'm not going to look. You Google it if you want to really understand it, but it gets too complicated. So let's just say, for argument's sake, it's less than 50 grams of total carbohydrate per day, right? So that is what is defined as being keto, and like up to 90% of your calories are coming from fats.
Yep.
So 10 years ago, there was this belief in the keto world that keto was better for endurance athletes because you're deriving most of your energy from being in a state of ketosis from fats, right? And it was a better form of energy. So they ran an experiment. What they did is they took, I think, 6 elite endurance athletes, like the best of the best in the world, one of them being a guy named Ben Greenfield, who used to be a big proponent or like a big supporter of keto. So they went very strict keto for 12 months and they competed in their standard competitions all around the world. Like I'm talking really strict, like it was documented the whole time. And they basically measured their performance. They found absolutely zero improvement in performance. If anything, some of them decreased in performance measures.
Yeah, right. I mean, I don't want to dismiss that, but it's rather a very small
don't get me wrong.
Pool
It
of
is
data, right?
It is, but these people were keto adapted. Like it's a snapshot into the world, right? These are people.
I mean, it's better than no information on
exactly. And I mean, in my opinion, like I don't want to go off the rails. We're talking about science literature, but in my opinion, people that dismiss certain studies because they're not like gold standard in terms of like double blind placebo, that's just ignorance in my opinion. But I can talk about that. And if you want to question that, I can riff on that on another time.
I think the most credible studies are usually the ones funded by the tobacco industry and the
100%,
the pharmaceutical industry.
Yeah, big pharma. Yeah. They're like Jesus.
So
very credible.
So moving on, I've got a question from one of my students, Chris, who's a blue belt, and like you said at the start, he'd sent this in for the Ask a Black Belt, but obviously recording a nutrition episode makes more sense to answer it here. And his question was, I mean, Chris is a pretty lean dude. He's always been rather lean and fit, physically active. And his question was that he's recently been going through some rehab for his lower back. So he's been from the physio, given multiple different ab exercises. And Chris is someone who's, got appears to have quite a defined core. You don't look at him and go, that dude is weak, right? So pretty fit guy. And his question was, should he be looking at his nutrition for day-to-day activity, whether that's jiu-jitsu or whatever, and for rehab? Because he said he has found that he's having absurd levels of DOMs from these rehab exercises, and not just your average DOMs. Like he said, man, like crazy level DOMs to the point where I'm asking myself, is something wrong with my diet?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. So I would say if you are feeling under recovered, right, from anything, whether it be physio, like rehab for physio can be freaking hard.
Well, because
like
usually
you can get insane DOMs. Like I'm going through some at the moment.
Because usually they're targeting an underdeveloped or a weak or recovering muscle.
So first thing I'll say is don't underestimate like rehab and even if their movements seem simple or like, only targeting a very specific area, that has been neglected for years and years. And, there's a reason your physio is giving you, that assignment is because you have underdeveloped muscle areas, right? So first and foremost, I'd say, if you're getting DOMs in those areas, that's to be expected. If you're not, you're probably doing it wrong. Now, next thing is if you feel under recovered and you don't put any attention into your nutrition, that's a brilliant place to start, right? So nutrition, think about it like this. And this is my belief in nutrition, and I'm pretty passionate about this. It's your freaking body, right? It's where you live. Everything that you put into your body, that is what your body is made up of, right? So if you're eating shit, you're going to get shit recovery and shit performance. It's logical. Are there outliers to this? Of course there are. But, will those people be better with nutrition? Yes, obviously. So what I say to Chris is if he is under recovered from his rehab exercises, he should have a look at his nutrition most definitely. Also his sleep and other areas of recovery, like sleep being one of the most critical. But of course he should look at his nutrition.
Is there a typical, for people struggling? Again, I know these are really hard questions because there's so many variables.
I'll try and generalize.
Is there a typical, like if people are struggling with recovery, is there a sort of, not a quick fix, but is there a, oh God, I've lost, there's a bird outside the window that's distracting me and it's not even doing anything. I'm just stuck looking at this damn bird. Move away, bird. There, it's gone.
Focus.
Is there like a well-known mistake that people tend to make, such as, you need to eat sooner after you work out, or you need to eat protein after, or is there, if someone's struggling with recovery, what may be the one thing they're doing wrong?
Honestly, I think the mistake is focusing too much on the shit that doesn't matter. Doesn't matter as much, like meal timing. In my opinion, if you, like a rabbit hole is people focus on the stuff that's easier. Okay. Now let me explain. If I came to you and I said, you need to sort your nutrition out, the hard thing is to eat the right things every day, day in, day out, eat the right amounts, select the smart choices. Mm-hmm. Like I'm not saying everyone has a nutrition qualification, but you yourself, you have a general idea on what's healthy and more or less you have a general idea on what's not healthy, right? You know, to avoid sugars, candy and shit like that. Eat whole foods like, your sweet potatoes, your pastas and lean meats. Okay. You generally would be able to follow more or less a healthy diet.
Yeah.
If I said to you, do that 24 hours a day, every day, that would be difficult. But if you were able to focus your energy on something that you think is important, like meal timing, and then, allow yourself to eat pretty much whatever the fuck you want, so long as you eat it at the right time or whatever, then that is still a problem, but it's an easier one for you to solve. So what I'm trying to say is most people will gravitate toward simpler, easier problems thinking that they're making a difference when they're really fucking not. So I think the most common mistake
I think on the flip side, you would find people would also then focus on the really hard aspects as a way to write the whole thing off. So people might, let's say if the hardest part is like just not eating shit in the first place, people might look at like, and put it in the too hard basket.
Oh, yeah,
where
absolutely.
It's like, well, you could do it the other way, right? You could look at the little easier fixing problems.
Yeah,
and
incremental gains.
100%. And if you
fix
enough of the, if you fix 10 of the easy problems
over a period of time. Yeah, I totally agree with that. But the point I'm trying to make is people get themselves down fucking the wrong rabbit holes, right? They focus on meal timing. They focus on, should I be intermittent fasting or should I be keto? Or they focus on the wrong shit, or they look at, what supplements should I be taking? That's another fucking ball game altogether, right? So those are the most common mistakes I see. People focusing on the wrong areas. That realistically, they know what they need to do. You need to eat better, higher quality food. Deep down, everyone understands that, but it's difficult. So people want to focus on other shit. That's what I find. So I agree with incrementally changing your diet, but incrementally put things in place that are going to fix your diet overall. Like incrementally cut out food. Okay. So say your diet is absolute trash and you're overweight and you want to improve it. Don't try and, snap your fingers and eat like I do overnight. You're going to fail, right? You'll last a week unless you have like the will of a god, right? It's human nature. And that's why yo-yo dieting is such a popular thing. It's such a common thing, right? I should say, not popular, but common.
Popular. I want to take a yo-yo diet.
Yeah, like yo-yo dieting, for those that don't know, the concept is dieting really hard and then bouncing back once you achieve a goal. And that's the problem with weight loss goals, okay? They're good because people like goals, but say, for example, and I'm fucking ranting at the moment, so just stop me if I need to get back on track. Say, for example, you're overweight and you want to lose 10 kilos or 22 pounds, 22.5 pounds is the pounds equivalent of that. So say you want to lose 10 kilos, right? You lose that 10 kilos. Then what do? You start to give back yourself privileges. You start to slowly, implement your old habits. And then all of a sudden, 6 months down the track, you put on 12 kilos. The reason that is so common is because in your mind, once you've reached the goal, the exercise is over.
Yeah.
And what you did to get that 10 kilo of weight loss was probably too extreme, right?
Yeah.
You probably went too hard. It's not sustainable. So what I advocate for is sustainable nutrition practices that are going to lose that 10 kilos, maybe a bit slower, but you'll be able to maintain that for the rest of your life. And that comes with educating yourself in nutrition and, well, not even nutrition, but healthy food practices and having a healthy relationship with food.
So what advice would you give to Chris then, short of saying, consult a nutritionist?
Well, that's brilliant advice, is to consult a nutritionist or to listen to my podcast, right? So this episode, listen to this episode. So Chris, what I would do, I'm talking to Chris now. What I would do is, if you're concerned with recovery from your rehab, honestly, doing a recovery program or rehab program is the perfect time to implement quality nutrition practices, because that's when your body needs it the most. Your body is trying to recover, right? All the food that you're putting into your body is the building blocks of your recovery, okay? So your protein, your fats, your carbohydrates that you are ingesting is the exact fuel, the exact nutrients that your body is utilizing to recover and repair. It's logical.
So what's more important?
It makes sense.
What's more important? If you know, I'm sure they're both important, but is one more important than the other? Pre-workout meal or post-workout meal?
No. So look, this comes back to if you're someone that does not have a nutrition plan, right? You're not following any specific plan. You don't even give a shit. You're not thinking about it at all. You have takeout most days. You know, if your diet shit, fucking doesn't matter. You can eat whenever you want. Like, you can eat before, during, after. Like, metabolic windows are a myth. That's the 1%er. And that's the point I was trying to make before, is don't focus on shit like that. Don't focus on meal timing when your nutrition plan sucks. You know, if you're not eating good food to begin with, it doesn't matter when you put it in your body. Realistically, it really doesn't.
Right.
I mean, yeah, it's a 1%er. And this is the hard pill to swallow, because people don't want to hear that. However, if you do have a good diet and you are looking at meal timings and nutrient timing, then it can be brought into the conversation. But honestly, I wouldn't even worry about nutrient timing until you've, squared away your actual nutrients, right? Think about it like that. Why would we be interested in when we're ingesting the bad food? It doesn't make any sense.
So I don't really need to feel guilty anymore when I wake up at 3 a.m. and have some ice cream, because it doesn't. I mean, if I'm eating it anyway, it doesn't matter when.
Yeah, fuck it, man. You want to fuck your sleep and fuck your body? Go for it. Nah, but
I actually set an alarm to wake up.
That's what some people do with protein powder. They used to wake up in the middle of the night to get more protein in, like old school.
Really?
Yeah, man. Like,
but it's not. I believe it's not uncommon for strongmen to do it.
Oh yeah, I've seen illogical.
I've seen in, those YouTube videos, particularly from like Brian
science, man.
Brian Shaw and Eddie Hall, where they, a day in my life, or, eating like a strong man. And they'll wake up in the middle of the night to have a...
Oh, it's so dumb. And the reason it's dumb is because it ruins your recovery. It's been proven time and time again that what the benefits they're getting from putting more protein into their body is vastly outweighed by the disrupted cortisol release from them interrupting their sleep. So sleep, in terms of recovery, if I had to choose one, it depends, right? But if I had an individual come to me and said, hey, for whatever reason, I live in some magical fairy fuck off land where I can only improve my sleep or improve my nutrition, I'd say improve your sleep. I would say, yeah, dude, just fucking get better sleep, because that's going to help you recover. Okay, so if you're under recovered, and if you improve your sleep to the fact that you're getting 8 to 9 hours of sleep per night, and you also improve your nutrition at the same time, you will feel 1,000 times better.
Speaking of sleep, I didn't have this written down, but I mean, it's completely applicable and relevant to nutrition. What line do you think people should be walking when it comes to caffeine?
Oh, okay. So I have seen some shit from some Jiu Jitsu people about caffeine. I don't agree.
You're like pointing your finger at me as if I
no, not you. No,
caffeine.
You probably. I'll tell you off air who's released it. I know they don't listen to this anyway, but look, I do not think. Look,
is caffeine cool?
It depends on the individual. And I'm sorry, I have to say that because there's actually, you can find out if you're a fast or a slow caffeine metabolizer by getting your genes tested. By doing something like 23andMe, you can have a look at certain SNPs and that will tell you if you're a slow or fast caffeine metabolizer. Okay, and you'll know yourself. You know those people that they have like one fucking cup of coffee.
A SNP being like a portion of your DNA code, your genetic markers.
Yeah, right? It's called SMP. It's a SNP, right? Okay, so with caffeine, you will know if you're a fast or slow metabolizer because you know those people that they have one cup of caffeine and they're fucking bouncing off the walls.
Yeah, you have like I know people that like it'll be.
Like Steve Irwin was one of those people.
The time now is 10:20 in the morning. I know people that I could say to them, now you want a coffee? And they'll say, oh man, if I have one this late in the day, I won't sleep tonight. And
I'm like that. So
I can have a coffee at like, dude, I often smash when the gym's open and I'm teaching multiple classes as well as training, I'll often smash a Red Bull at 5:30 in the afternoon.
But it also depends on your caffeine tolerance, right? So caffeine tolerance is also an obvious thing. And the way to test that, take a week or two off caffeine completely and then have a coffee and see how you react to it.
Dude, I did that a while ago now, but I did, I hate to use the buzzword, but I essentially just did like a 1 week
You say
cleanse.
detox?
No. Well, not when I say cleanse, it was just like this 1 week where I was like, man, I'm going to just not have any coffee. I just did a 1 week where I took a bunch of stuff out of my diet, I guess.
I thought I took a bunch of stuff for a week.
And anyway, one of those things was caffeine, right? I think it was a bit longer, like 10 days or something like that.
Yep.
And then after that, I had a coffee and I just had an espresso and it was before.
Were you buzzing?
Class. Dude, I remember I walked over to students who we've mentioned quite a few times, Dan and Jake, and in the class, I walked over to them and I was like, guys, I feel like I'm high.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, I can't like focus. And it wasn't like I was jittery, but like I actually felt not just like I had taken an 8-ball or something, but I really felt almost euphoric, right?
So I'd say your habitual caffeine use is not because you're a particularly fast metabolizer. I'd say it's just tolerance. So yes, having a Red Bull that late at night would be affecting your sleep. You're just not really aware of it because it's consistent for you, right? So it's chronic use, right? So if you get to that point, it is affecting your sleep. The general rule of thumb is to not have caffeine 10 hours before you want to go to sleep. So I pretty much draw the line. I will not have there's always exceptions to the rule, but in my general rule of thumb, I will not have caffeine after midday. So after 12, at midday, I will not have any caffeine in the afternoon, and I'll try and limit my caffeine intake to about 3 coffees. So I'm getting, an average per day of around 200 to 300 milligrams of caffeine, which is standard, right? Particularly for some of my body weight and size, I can have up to 400 milligrams. Now, one thing you want to be very aware of is not to have too much in one go, because up to a certain threshold, it's actually not going to increase your performance. So caffeine does increase athletic performance. It's going to increase your jiu-jitsu performance. That's proven time and time again across multiple studies, multiple domains. Like, you can argue with me, but you'd be wrong. So caffeine does improve performance up to a certain threshold, and that threshold on average is about 400 milligrams, no more than that. Otherwise, it just has no impact.
In one dose, you mean?
In one dose, and then it can just reduce performance. Now, if you're looking at caffeine for the best performance, avoid coffee. Look at caffeine tablets. They're the best way to take supplement with caffeine for performance, is because it's very easily regulated. You can dose it precisely, and it's the most fast absorbing, right? So the best form is caffeine hydrogenous in the form of a tablet.
Is that something you've ever taken?
Yeah.
Would you?
Yeah, 100%.
Would you take it before a competition, or?
Honestly, at the moment, I haven't really been. I used to be a mad supplement nerd, and I used to make my own pre-workout stacks by buying like the raw ingredients and dosing them correctly and weighing it all out. And I used to do all of that stuff.
Breaking Bad over here.
Yeah, sort of. But for supplement, it's very easy to make your own pre-workout. I highly recommend against buying like off-the-shelf pre-workouts.
I made my own trail mix once.
Yeah, that's good. Well done. Have a ribbon for you.
Dude, that reminds we used to. I mean, a bit off topic, but when I was living in Canada and we would go to the snow, we would often like take snacks and trail mix and stuff with you up onto the mountain. As anyone knows who's been to the snow, right, just stops you having to always get your gear off to go into the
Why are you getting your gear off?
Kieran's there trying to walk into the cafe with his snowboard on. Stops you having to necessarily go into the cafeteria to get something to eat. And I would often just keep in my snowboard jacket like some protein bars or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But you forget that you're like potentially on the mountain where it's like, minus whatever, right? And I remember one time I was up there and I was like, oh yeah, waiting in the lift line. I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to eat this protein bar. And I'd been out there for hours. It's like rock solid frozen. I'm like, oh yeah, because it's like minus 10 degrees. I'm like trying to eat this protein bar that's like rock solid.
Protein popsicle. Yeah. So, I mean, I suppose we haven't really gotten through many actual nutrition topics. But yeah, so to answer it simply for Chris, focus on your nutrition and your sleep, and it'll definitely improve your recovery, 100%.
The next one I want to ask, and I haven't told you I was going to ask this question because it could fall flat or it could turn into when Kieren gets angry. Right? What do you think about because I know one particular person who I'm not going to mention now, but I do have one friend that I know can go quite rage mode on his point of view about this topic.
Is it JT?
I didn't say that.
You said rage mode and friend, and that's JT. Why are you getting all mad? Yeah, go on.
What do you think about this whole, I don't want to say vegan movement, but the people that are like, go like, oh, but this vegan athlete and, this guy's showing that, he's better not even just like, oh, it's possible as a vegan, because there's plenty of really high level athletes and competitors in whatever sport who are vegans, right? So it's obviously possible, but that they go to say that they perform better because they're a vegan. What are your thoughts on the whole?
Look, the research on that is just unequivocal. It's not opinion based, it's research based. A lot of people. Now, I just got an analogy to this, and this will.
I actually really want to see
I got a story. I got a story to this, and this will explain my opinion on it. Like I probably mentioned it before, but fuck it. When Game Changers came out,
was a Netflix.
Yeah,
the
very air quotes documentary. Game Changers. A lot of people.
Oh, that was the vegan one, right?
Yes. Yeah. The vegan documentary.
It was on Netflix, maybe 2 years ago.
Years ago now, 2-3 years ago. I think about 2 years ago. Game Changers, right? So when that came out, all of a sudden, every man and their dog that saw it was now a vegan advocate. Okay, and all of a sudden, because of that documentary and maybe an hour of Googling, they're now a nutrition expert.
Yep.
Okay.
Sorry, I'll just interrupt. By the way, Samir, we love you. Don't get offended by any of what Kieran's about to say.
Oh, you can get offended. I don't give a fuck. But I was at a dinner for some friends, like a birthday or some shit. I was at a dinner and there was this woman there. And at this point, I'd literally just gotten my ISSN sports nutrition certification. So I was like studying for over a year. I was studying every day for this test that I had to pass. So I was pretty fresh on my nutrition literature. And I had this woman try and preach to everyone in the like conversational bubble about veganism and how it, eating meat gave you cancer, just all the outrageous, unfounded claims of this documentary. And she was just spouting it out. And then I was just listening and my girlfriend was like giving me the look, like, don't you fucking dare. don't you fucking embarrass us. And I just said one thing to her. I was like, did you get this from Game Changers? And she just paused, like a solid 3-second pause, mouth open, like she didn't have a response. She's like, oh, it's not just Game Changers. It's like, and that to me, in a fucking nutshell, described her, the weakness in her arguments is all of her facts were coming from this movie, that the intention of the movie was to sell a cinematic idea. Now, the whole fact that people that argue that veganism is better for athletic performance, just show me the literature, show me the studies. That's all I'm saying. Like, show me the studies.
Yeah.
I'm not saying.
I mean, you're not saying
that you can't. No,
you can't, because there's plenty of athletes who have proven that you can.
But you need a supplement. You need a supplement with a lot of shit. You need to be all over your nutrition. Like the vegan athletes need to have a vastly more a more careful, considered approach to their nutrition than, generally speaking, than someone that isn't. And that's not saying that the problem is people think veganism is healthy. it's not necessarily healthier. There's plenty of bad, like food that's really bad for you that is considered vegan. There's heaps. There's a shitload, right? It doesn't mean you're automatically healthy. It's ridiculous.
Refined sugar is vegan.
Exactly. Exactly. The start of the episode talking about disaccharides.
It's like vegan brownies, you know, super delicious because they're like loaded with like so much sugar and, you know.
And some people lose weight eating vegan. The reason they're losing weight isn't because you're eating vegan. It's because you're eating less calories. It's the same as people that lose weight on keto. The reason that you're losing weight on keto is not because you're all of a sudden healthier. It's because you're eating less calories. It's, you know, if that's a vehicle to get you to lose weight and to, you know, be healthier because you've lost weight, then go for it. But it's not necessarily healthier. And in terms of veganism for athletic performance, it's just not founded. It's just so unfounded. Like if you go through the list of the highest quality protein sources like possible on nearly every metric. I'm talking from like amino acid availability, digestibility, the types of amino acids that's contained within the foods. And if you look at the top list, the top 4 are meat or animal products, right? We're talking like whey protein, eggs, you know, lean meats. Yeah, there are some vegan options on the list. Don't get me wrong. There are some vegan options on the list, but you need to eat copious amounts for it to be equivalent, right?
What are your thoughts on? Because for some people, being vegan is the choice is. One of the really common choices is they talk about the environmental impacts.
I don't agree with that at all.
Yeah, but let's just go like, okay, yeah, cool. And there's all these like now like vegan meats and stuff, and these companies that are
they're really fucking bad for you.
Trying to make these fake meats that are supposed to, on a molecular level, you know, be the same as meats. That's what they're trying to achieve. Yeah. Is that still something that, to your knowledge, the research just isn't there yet?
Oh, these like these artificial meats, like the Wonder Burger and all these like these meats. Now, if you're listening to this, correct me if I'm talking out of term, but my understanding is they're made up of a lot of processed foods, like a lot of vegetable oils and shit that's actually really fucking bad for you. Like they're not healthy. Just because it's meat-free. Like the whole argument of the vegan argument, like meat gives you cancer, is there was a huge study that was released not too long ago that identified certain meat products as being carcinogens, as probably will give you cancer. That's what like a carcinogen is, right?
Dolphin.
Yeah. Like different.
Well, no, legit, right? Like that's one you can't. I mean, if you watch.
As in mercury. Like
from all the mercury and from all they eat, because they eat. Dolphins eat huge amounts of tuna.
Yes.
And then, so dolphin meat, which, you know, the average person doesn't eat, of course, but has huge amounts of mercury in it, which is really bad as well.
Like, funny aside, I gave myself a very mild case of mercury poisoning because I was eating 8 cans of tuna a day for like 3 months straight.
It's a lot of tuna, bro.
Yeah, it's a lot of fucking tuna. But, I mean, the point I'm trying to make is if you actually go through the research, it's not that meat gives you cancer. It's not talking about meat gives you cancer, right? And it doesn't double your risk of like red meat, okay? So the common argument of veganism is red meat gives you cancer. That's a ridiculous fucking thing to say. No, red meat does not automatically give you cancer, okay? And it doesn't double your risk. It's not absolute risk. There's a difference between absolute risk and proportional risk, okay? So if your risk... And this is what I'm trying to say, right? So let me break down statistics really quickly, and I'll spend like 1 minute here max. So if your risk of getting a specific type of stomach cancer was 0.01%, right? And then you're saying that eating red meat doubles your risk of cancer, then your risk goes to 0.02%.
Yeah.
It's not 50% chance of getting fucking stomach cancer. And this is the illogical use of statistics where you have 50% chance of getting stomach cancer if you eat red meat. It's like, no, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then the argument, I brought this up with this woman at the dinner table, walking back to the story. And then, you know, I was like,
you're like, science,
I was just like, oh, you're talking, she brought that statistic that gives you 50% chance of having stomach cancer. I was like, are you talking absolute risk or statistical risk? And she's like, oh, any risk, any more risk is risk I'm not willing to take. Some dumb fucking statement like that. I'm like, you're a dumb bitch. Shut up. But no,
needless to say, you guys aren't friends with them anymore.
No, she's so dumb. But I'm not saying that vegan people are dumb. I'm not saying that argument is dumb. I'm just saying that if you you need to understand what you're saying. But yeah, look, I don't agree with it. And it's only you going back to that study, because I want to make a point here, is the red meat they were talking about that probably gives you cancer. And I forget I did a whole fucking podcast on it once upon a time when it first came out. I did like an hour fucking riff on it, but I don't have my notes here, so I can't tell you exactly like the categorization. I think it's like 1A or something like that probably gives you cancer. They're talking about processed meats. So they're talking about like deli meats and like,
which are known
fucking
to be
bad shit. Yeah,
not great for
you. Because they're full of nitrogen and shit that I don't eat anyway.
Like I remember when I was a kid,
Like sausage and shit.
my parents used to give me, I don't know if this was just a my family
Like
thing.
Devon or something?
Yeah. But they used to make for me when I was a kid. And it must be a generational thing. But we used to get white bread sandwiches with Devon and tomato sauce on them.
Yeah, yeah.
And like, I mean,
like Devon and cheese or something.
Yeah,
like that.
God, I wouldn't touch that now.
No, so that is the type of meat that
is known to be quite bad.
That is known to be quite bad.
Yeah.
They did have a look at other red meats, but it was considered a possible carcinogen, but it was like 2 ranks lower than the processed red meat. And it's that processed red meat that people cling to. And it's only red meat. So the recommendation was if you eat red meat once or twice a week, you're completely fine. Like it's not going to kill you. Like it's not going to give you cancer. It's such a ridiculous thing to say. Now, the whole environmental impact of being vegan, if everyone in the world was vegan, we would still have just as much environmental impact because of monocropping. Like monocropping, and this is another argument. I know. I mean, I don't have my notes at hand, so I can't really. I don't want to, go publicly and say this for certain. And fuck, if you're a vegan and you hate what I'm saying, please let me know. Like, go on our Instagram and let us know. But if you had everyone in the world overnight a vegan, you would need an incredible amount of monocropping. Monocropping kills millions of animals per year. So it's like, let's talk about the value of life, right? So vegan, for people that want to be vegan because they don't want to consume and kill animals, I'm totally cool with that. Totally cool. But like,
like where do you draw the line?
Where do you draw the line
just
between
like,
a squirrel and a cow? Like,
does
is a
everyone
squirrel
just need
worth
to
a cow?
become Amish? Like
Yeah,
where's the
exactly. Like, is 10 squirrels worth one life of a cow? But I don't want to be a dick and go into that sort of argument. But the fact that, people say that it improves athletic performance, it just doesn't. It's just not true. Like, if you can show me the studies that show that, then fucking show them. Like, send them to me.
Fuck that, bro. I ain't making no opinions based on science.
Yeah, fuck that. Vegan bitch. I don't have a problem.
Hashtag Joe Rogan.
I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with people that want to be vegan for, their ethic reasons. Like, dude, all the power to you. Like, honestly, I think that's brilliant. But yeah, I mean, I don't even like factory farming. I mean, if I had the option, I would do the Joe Rogan approach and hunt for my food. I would be a hunter over a vegan. And I'm not a fan of factory farming. Like, anyone that has seen that shit and enjoys it is a sicko, right? Like, no one enjoys it, but it's the reality of life.
Yeah. Is your opinion similar with those diets that became popular a while back, where your diet was based on your blood type? Is that another
blood type?
Yeah.
Are you talking your genetic history, like where
you're
from?
Yeah, and they kind of
like blue zone type diets.
I remember seeing it as like
a blood
no,
type.
maybe it wasn't based on your blood type, but remember there were those diets that was like
your genetics.
Yeah,
yes.
Is that something that is?
Well, there's a bit of science to back that. There is a little bit of science to back that, and basically the concept is that if you eat based on your ancestry, like where you're from, if you eat foods that your ancestors would have eaten, then your body is engineered to digest those a bit more efficiently. I haven't seen super robust science on it, and
on the flip side, you're looking at that going,
my
ancestors lived till they were 30, so they were doing something wrong.
Well, yeah, and then you look at and then there's another concept in the whole like biohacking nutrition, woke nutrition ideas, which is to eat similar to blue zones. So blue zones are these areas in the world. There was like this study that was done fucking years and years ago, where these team of people went around and had a look at the longest living human civilizations, like the groups of humans around the world that live the longest. Yeah. So like over 100, and like centaurians, like predominantly, unless they die from an accident, they live to be over 100. All sorts of areas all around the world, and look at the like similarities between them to try and figure out, okay, how do we improve longevity? And their diets vary wildly, like significantly.
Yeah.
So there's more going on than just what you're eating.
Yeah.
Like there's way more. There's like lifestyle factors, stress levels, which probably play a more important role. But one thing that was very, very common between them all was a sense of community. They were all very, very engaged in their community. So that suggests like, you know, lower cortisol levels and support and all sorts of things that you can draw from that.
Yeah, a whole bunch of factors to consider, right?
Yeah, so I don't subscribe anymore. Like I used to be super into, you know, looking at biohacking and shit like that. But I'm not really into that side of things. It gets a bit too woke. I like to stick with pretty strong science. You know, I prefer more sports nutrition science rather than, you know, that fringe side of nutrition, because people just get too heated, like with the whole.
Do you wonder if in the future, you know, there could be a future in 100, 200, 300 years or whatever, right? Where technology is surpassed what the present day mind can imagine, where, you know, you can just take that magical pill for all your daily nutritional needs, or
there was something very similar to that. Like it probably won't be a pill, because I mean, fuck,
or an injectable or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah, without a doubt.
Just before we round out the episode, I've got one more question. It's the one that I've been saving for last because it's the one that everyone wants to know. Yay or nay? Pineapple on pizza?
Yes.
Yes, bro. Yes.
Yes.
Oh man, I was so glad you said
Definitely
yes, because I didn't know your stance on this, and it was.
I spoke to my brother about this the other day.
Dude, we were going to have to. This show
we're gonna
would
have to hash it out.
It would have been done and dusted if you said no. I've got some of my best friends who hate pineapple on pizza,
ex-best
and
friends,
I fucking hate them.
Yep, fuck them, dude. I don't care what you say about. Oh, it's a fruit. Why would you put a fruit on pizza and all that sort of dumb shit? Pineapple belongs on pizza. Come at me, bro.
Yeah, dude.
I don't give a shit.
My friend, one of my best friends who is super against pineapple on pizza, like he's a bit of a foodie, right? Well, no, he's a massive foodie. And
I already don't like him.
Yeah. But, you know, so for example, he likes Italian food, right? Like a lot of people likes Italian food. But I don't know if you know this, but a really common Italian canapé or whatever is they wrap prosciutto around rock melon or cantaloupe, right?
What's
and
the
they
difference?
eat it like that. And I'm like, okay, so you can't put pineapple on pizza, but you can eat like rock melon wrapped in prosciutto.
Hypocrites.
Or you can
hypocrites.
put like cottage cheese or ricotta or whatever on figs.
Yeah.
You know, like fuck off. Pineapple on pizza is great. Adds a bit of sweetness.
Yeah, it's great.
You speak to any chef and it's like the balance of like the how I forget the different taste sensations you have, but like salty, sweet, bitter, you know, like that's the acidity, umami, right? Yeah. Like this is what a chef is trying to balance.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, of course.
And I'm not trying to say that pineapple on pizza is like this next level Michelin star chef's discovery, but
close.
it's just the premise of you're adding sweetness to something. The same way that, you know, you might have a dish that you wouldn't think of as being sweet, but it's got honey in it. Honey soy chicken, right?
Exactly.
It's like,
right. Yeah.
Well, you're adding sweetness to it. Man,
exactly.
Bam. I'm so happy
Pineapple
you said yes, because I was
man.
going to be so.
Because think about it. If it didn't, why would ham and pineapple pizza be one of the most popular pizzas in Australia?
Yeah, I believe it's the most popular pizza in Australia.
You can't argue with statistics. If it didn't belong, why would people fucking buy it?
Yeah.
You dickhead.
Yeah.
You
that's
purist.
Right. Yeah.
Like, fuck. Pull your head out of your ass. What?
Yeah.
You got to be in fucking. Oh.
Yeah, it's the same as like, well, okay, let's say like music, right? You look at like pop music. Okay, do I like Justin Bieber? No, but obviously I'm the minority because he's a fucking global superstar, right?
Yeah, and if you sat there across the table and said that Justin Bieber couldn't sing or he was a shit artist, you'd be ignorant.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's your opinion, but to blanket statements like, no, it's fact that he sucks, he doesn't belong in music. That is a dumbass opinion. Like people that say pineapple doesn't belong on pizza. My brother...
people who are mixing facts and opinions.
Exactly. My brother and my girlfriend are both pineapple haters on pizza and they're dead to me.
You know who else is? I'll give you one. So you can get fired up for next week back in the gym.
Yeah,
right. Again, at the time of recording, we're a week out of lockdown or whatever it is.
Yep.
Jake does not like pineapple
I know
pizza.
that he's gotten soft over this break. I know he hasn't been training, and I'm coming for him.
Dude, he is pudgy as.
I'm coming for Dake.
Jake.
I was about to say Dan and Jake,
Well,
and then
Dan
I came
and
out
Jake
Dake.
are a married
Can we
couple,
call them Dake?
Yeah, I do call them Dake.
Okay, I'm
sometimes,
coming. I'm coming for Dake.
I
Blue
think
belts.
Dan's okay with it, but Jake is anti-pineapple on pizza.
Okay, so Jake's gonna get it the worst.
dude, like it's great.
Yeah.
Like, look, I prefer other pizzas. If I'm ordering a pizza, I don't order ham and pineapple because there's better
that's
pizzas.
what I ordered as a kid. Like
yeah,
I grew up on it.
it's fucking great, bro.
Yeah.
Pineapple and pumpkin.
Well, what's your favorite pizza?
I get this from my dad. My dad is in Australia what we call a meat and potatoes guy. You know, kind of super like you put pepper on his steak and he's like, oh, that's spicy.
Yeah, right.
You know,
wow.
like, my
dad's
dad's
water spicy.
Yeah, my dad. he's pretty not super adventurous with his
Super
food.
bland.
Yeah, so I get from my dad I like, barbecue meat lovers pizzas.
Me too,
I don't know if it's necessarily my favorite. I also like the other ones. Like I'll have a garlic prawn pizza or I'll pretty much eat any pizza.
Like a teriyaki chicken or something random. Yeah, I'm the same. But my go-to is the same as yours.
The only one I'm not
lovers.
into is because
I'm basic.
Is like anchovy stuff.
Oh,
and
no. I hate olives and anchovies and shit like that.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, after I mentioned that I don't eat donuts on the podcast, I got a really interesting string of messages from Oleg. Oleg is a blue belt that trains at our gym, and he was basically
really?
Yeah,
you
we're
didn't tell me
basically we had a
this.
mad conversation for it went for a while. We're talking back and forth for a while about why I might not like donuts, and like he was talking about like, oh, okay, so do you like rose water? Is it a sensory thing for you? Is it a smell thing for you? Because he's a big fan of donuts, rose water, and that sort of stuff. So he was trying to understand it from the other side, like why he likes it so much as to why I don't, and we just couldn't figure it out.
That's
but
funny.
I tried Krispy Kreme's.
You sent me a photo earlier this week.
Yeah.
There's a photo of you and your girlfriend picking up a whole 12-pack of donuts.
Yeah,
and I was like,
yeah.
what the fuck's
I
going
ate
on
3 of
there?
them. I actually ate 3 of them.
You ate 3?
Yeah, so I figured out which ones of the Krispy Kremes that I can eat. I had a jelly donut, like the jam donut.
Yeah.
Not a fan. I had 2 others that were just so loaded with shit on them, like
they're coated in chocolate. We're not talking like the classic Krispy Kremes.
no,
These
no.
are the ones that are like
mountain of fucking icing, chocolate, cookies, and in the center of the donut, it's filled with like chocolate fudge. I couldn't taste the donut. All I could taste was sugar, so I could eat them.
Yeah.
When I can't taste the donut, I'm good to go.
Yeah.
But honestly, I had a full script prepared for this episode, all the bullet points I want to talk about. We're going to have to do another nutrition episode because I got through absolutely none of it.
I think we could do, you've at the moment for people wanting more of the scientific sort of real,
Practical
like
shit.
sitting down with a nutritionist. You've got your YouTube video.
Yep.
Google, what was it called?
The Ultimate Nutrition Guide. Ultimate Jiu Jitsu Nutrition Guide.
From your YouTube channel. You've got the Jungle Brothers podcast episode 110. But at a later date, we could definitely do a more scientific.
Yeah, more structured. Like this is how this is what you need to do.
But if you've listened this long, I would like to hear from people whether you like pineapple on pizza.
Yeah, let us know. We need to set something up like a poll.
Yeah. And then I don't know. For those who disagree, you can roll me, and if you win, I will give you a pizza with the pineapple that I've eaten off it.
What the fuck? What if like some like high level black belt comes in from the States and just fucking is like, let's go.
Well, then if he wins, I will. No, if I win, they've got to eat a piece of pizza with pineapple on it.
Okay.
And if they win, I'll eat pizza
Anchovies.
without pineapple, which I still like.
You gotta eat the anchovies pizza.
I'll eat an anchovy.
That's
not
gross.
an anchovy pizza. That's a bit much. Like it's
No,
not like
come
I'm
on,
making
man.
them eat a pineapple pizza. It's a pizza with pineapple
You'll
on
make
it.
them eat an entire pineapple. Anyway,
All right, guys. So next episode, though, we're finally having our first guest
Yes.
on the show. So that'll be
surprise guest.
episode 29.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
No, we can tell them what guest it is.
Oh, okay.
well, they would know in the title before they watch listen to the episode.
But
or
they're not going to know when this. Anyway, just tell them.
Anyway, so yeah, JT's coming on. So James Tomlinson,
Tenacity.
also known as Tenacity. He's a black belt under Lachlan Giles. He's half of Bulletproof for BJJ with Joey. James and I used to train together in Brazil. Heaps of banter. We were both together on the Jungle Brothers podcast recently. God, I can't remember what episode.
It's like 1:30 or something.
Yeah, something like that. Heaps of banter. We've trained together a lot over the years, lived together for a while in Brazil. So we're going to have him on not only to talk about jiu-jitsu stuff, but also and bulletproof stuff, but also to talk about what he's got in the works. He has a book coming out.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to talk about. So yeah, episode 29, that'll be our first guest. So that should be cool.
Yeah, awesome. So thanks for listening, and until next time.
Eat pineapple, bitches.
See ya.